What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
It's Ken Harbaugh with Against All Enemies on the MeidasTouch Network. I thought the saga of Joe Biggs, who led the Proud Boys on January 6th during the assault on the Capitol, was over. A few days ago, he got a 17-year prison sentence and begged the judge with tears in his eyes for leniency. Yet just a couple days later, he called into InfoWars, the notorious show hosted by Alex Jones, expressing no remorse and confidently predicting that a newly reelected President Trump would pardon him. Now, I can't show that clip because YouTube has rightly banned Alex Jones from this platform, but there's a great moment during the call where an automated voice tells Proud Boy Joe Biggs that he has 1 minute remaining because he's in prison. Joe Biggs is like every one of these insurrectionist leaders who talked tough on January 6th and then folded like a cheap suit the moment they faced actual consequences. Enrique Tarrio, who just received the longest sentence to date of 22 years, also begged the judge to go easy on him. This is from an AP reporter in the courtroom. I am not a political zealot. Inflicting harm or changing the results of the election was not my goal, Tarrio said. Please show me mercy, he said, adding, I ask that you not take my 40s from me. U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly, who was appointed to the bench by Trump, said Tarrio was motivated by, quote, revolutionary zeal to lead the conspiracy that resulted in 200 men amped up for battle encircling the Capitol. Noting that Tarrio had not previously shown any remorse publicly for his crimes, the judge said a stiff punishment was necessary to deter future political violence. Back to Joe Biggs, who actually led in person the Proud Boys assault on the Capitol. Here he is on that day after desecrating the Capitol, bragging about it with his followers.
So we just stormed the fucking Capitol, took the motherfucking place back. That was so much fun.
So much America. So much America.
January 6th will be a day in infamy.
Yes, yes.
This tough guy act evaporated, of course, when Biggs had to face the reality of what he had done. Here's a play-by-play from reporter Kyle Cheney, who was in the courtroom during sentencing. I'm going to read parts of it for our podcast listeners. Biggs, I was seduced by the crowd and I just moved forward. My curiosity got the best of me and I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. I'm not a terrorist. I don't have hate in my heart. Yeah, right. You led an assault against police officers who are fighting to defend democracy. You interrupted the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in our nation's history. Thanks for listening, everyone. I've got a quick break here, but I need a favor first. Shows like this depend on your support. Please, if you can spare 5 seconds, click the link to the podcast version of the show below and leave us a 5-star review. It really does help. Thanks. The play-by-play continues. Biggs is in tears. I know that I have to be punished, he says, but pleads with Judge Kelly to allow him to, quote, take my daughter to school one day and pick her up. People died that day. 4 law enforcement officers took their own lives in the aftermath. I care about them never being able to pick up their kids from school, not you. Biggs got 17 years.
This just in to CNN. Joseph Biggs, a leader of the Proud Boys who led the far-right organization's infamous march on January 6, 2021, was sentenced a short time ago to 17 years in prison. CNN's Evan Perez is with us. Evan, looking at this here, was this sort of sentence expected in the range for the charges he was convicted of?
Yeah, Jim, look, this is a pretty stiff sentence. This is just the second longest after a member of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, who got 18 years. And the judge really, listened to the defense. He listened to Joseph Biggs, who tearfully said that he wanted another chance. He said, I'm not a violent person. I want to get a chance to be able to take my daughter to school. He said he was sorry for what happened and that January 6th was the last time that he was ever going to do anything as a member of the Proud Boys. Of course, the judge said that this was a very serious offense, that one of the things that the members of the Proud Boys did on January 6th was that they broke the tradition of peaceful transfer of power in this country, something that is forever lost as a result of what happened that day. One of the things the Judge Kelly said from the bench, the nature of the constitutional moment we were in that day is something that is so sensitive that it deserves a significant sentence. The prosecution had requested 33 years for Joseph Biggs. They did not get that, obviously, but this is just one of a number of Proud Boys that we're going to see sentenced here at this federal courthouse in the coming days.
The judge absolutely got it right. We are at a dangerous moment in America. If those who seek to undermine our democracy do not face consequences, we may lose it. As gratifying as it was to see Joe Biggs sentenced to 17 years, I still believe the greater threat comes from those who encouraged and provoked the Proud Boys. And a lot of those people hold senior leadership roles in the Republican Party. The stakes could not be higher. I had an extraordinary conversation with General Stan McChrystal about those stakes for the upcoming documentary film Against All Enemies. Here's what he had to say.
I think the worst case scenario is probably worse than most of us want to imagine. I could see a civil war. Sometimes people go to war for perceived slights, and I'm talking nations go to war for things which, after the fact, look ridiculous. And sometimes people are willing to flock to recruiting stations and join services or join guerrilla groups or whatever for ideas that are less soaring than we'd like to believe. And so, as we drift further and further apart, we start to have this idea that they are the enemy. We start to drift away from a two-party political system to a two-party cage fight.
I think it's only fitting to close with this clip of Joe Biggs leading his Proud Boys toward the Capitol that day, chanting, "F around, find out." Fuck around, find out! Fuck around, find out! I guess Joe Biggs just found out.